Hello and welcome, my pixelated leaves. Today we have a look at Shazaz, the news, with Pixel Art Wars. Are modern games misusing the classic aesthetic? I have opinions on that, but let's watch the video and I'll state it as we go. So, in we go.
All right, so today we're going to be looking at pixels. Yeah, there's a huge disagreement over on Twitter about pixel art. So I think the overall conversation is about modern video games using pixel art to depict their video games, and how there's purists that say, no, pixel art was always designed to be smoothed out by CRT TVs, therefore modern pixel artists got it all wrong, and that they're basically misusing the idea behind pixel art. I think the conversation is really funny, but it starts with this tweet. So I'm going to let this video play out. It starts off with someone saying, time to...
Okay, one thing I gotta say immediately is I hate it when people say that they made the game so that it will look like it's on the Super Nintendo, for example. But then, yeah, it's pixel art, but they use like a million colors, and it really wouldn't have worked on the Super Nintendo like that, because that was only 16-bit. Which means 256 colors, I think? I'm not too huge into that, so don't pin me down. But definitely more limited colors at the same time. And yeah, if you make it Super Nintendo inspired, that is okay. But if you say, hey, so that it looks like Super Nintendo, yeah, then make it look like it would run on the actual hardware. Also, keep in mind that the game shouldn't be all that long, because Super Nintendo games couldn't be all that long due to hardware limitations. There's just not enough memory on cartridges, you know?
bust out this old gem again, because somebody said, I don't understand this affinity for CRTs. They're terrible displays. They've had their time, but that is in the distant past. Back in the early 2000s, we replaced all CRTs in my office with LCDs. It was a national holiday at my last business. I don't know where did I read that wrong? People were ecstatic for LCDs. First of all, that is a bit of a chaotic opinion there. It's okay to like LCDs over CRTs. It's okay to kind of not understand exactly what the appeal is of a old CRT, but the truth is, yeah, that sometimes you can smooth out.
I do like his pendant. It looks cool. That's a compass. Also, what I'm gonna say about CRTs, I have grown up with a CRT, obviously, because I'm old, is that if the games give you the option of scan lines, for example, the Nintendo Switch Online stuff does that, and some newer games that use pixelated art style as well, it always looks bad. The mimicked scan lines are not the same thing as the actual scan lines on a TV. If you don't know what scan lines are, basically the way old TVs, CRT TVs worked were like, they were displaying colors line by line. So it goes like zip, 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 like a typewriter basically. And that meant you had like small black lines between each pixel, kinda ish. Yeah, it worked on a CRT TV because they were made for that. But if you try to mimic that on a 4K monitor or TV or whatever, it is not the same experience. The games, in my opinion, look definitely better if you don't put on the scan lines.
Pixel graphics, and sometimes, there's PlayStation games that just sort of benefit from the whole idea of having a CRT. It just, again, it does smooth things out. And also, it's an aesthetic, like looking at a CRT TV is a different experience than using a flat screen HD TV. It just is. And it's okay to say it's cool to like get that old hardware and play as the games were originally made, originally intended, instead of having it displayed on an LCD TV. I get that completely. But now the counter argument are getting a bit insane. So first, we're going to watch, I believe, a re-uploaded TikTok on Twitter. I'll try to mention the guy's @ so that, you know, he gets credited properly. His name is My Life is an RPG over on TikTok.
Here we go, pixel art, just like we remember, right? Big, blocky, high contrast colors. But wait, what's this? This is the same sprite shown through a CRT monitor. And you'll notice that everything is lower contrast and everything looks rounded. This is the actual visual data.
So, the first thing I have to say about this is like, this seems complete bullshit. The problem is that you are zooming in extremely on this one picture. Of course it would look different and more blurry and stuff. Yeah, also the first one looked definitely better, but like I said, it's a problem of zooming in. If you wouldn't zoom in like that, but instead use the sprite as it is depicted in game, in size to everything else and stuff, it would give you a whole different appearance and experience as well. So yeah, his point is kinda invalid already in my eyes.
But this is what it was supposed to look like. This Peach sprite from Super Mario RPG was supposed to look kind of like a toy, a rounded action figure. You got...
So that was actually a great example of CRT. So Super Mario RPG is one of those games where it does not age well in the sense that if you played it on a modern TV, it would look significant.
Wait a minute. Now that I think of it, wasn't Super Mario RPG one of those games where they rendered 3D graphics into sprites like Donkey Kong did? Because if that is the case, I'm not completely sure about that. Then that point definitely is, there was no pixel art done anyway. But he's talking about Chrono Trigger now, let's see.
Significantly worse because it really utilized the CRT in order to round out the pixels and stuff like he just mentioned there. But I think what we're going to see as this video goes on is that he's citing specific examples where, yes, artists do occasionally make their art tailored to CRT displays, but it's not all games. And we'll let it play out longer. Let's just see how it goes.
You got Chrono's portrait, infamous Toriyama art from Chrono Trigger. Big, blocky, seen through a CRT, his eyes look round,
right,
his mouth looks round, his face looks round. It looks like a drawn anime picture. Richter Bell.
Yeah, sure, the CRT does that, but play it on a 4K monitor and don't zoom into the picture. It still looks rounded and not as blocky as he says it does. It's more about the perspective of him zooming into the picture so much that you can see the blockiness. Also the blurriness on the CRT. Because that's just how vision works. You make the pixels bigger by zooming in, obviously. So, yeah. Well.
Belmont, same deal. When shown through a CRT,
that's not the best example.
And his arm, which was literally just a couple of pixels, looks like a drawn-on arm. He looks like
it does not.
It really does not. It still looks like a pixelated arm. Just a bit more blurry.
I don't know if you saw the same arm I just saw, but you can see the pixels.
Televisions basically scanned a beam of electrons line by line to get the picture to show. And these lines were fuzzy and not entirely accurate, and sprite artists knew that. And they used that knowledge to turn blocky-looking sprite art into what looked like smooth hand-drawn art.
Okay, yeah, so this is not entirely accurate. Again, some artists definitely used it to their advantage, and those are exceptional artists, but that's not all artists. That was not all pixel artists, and this delusion, he's not stated it in this video yet, but I did see some of this discourse on Twitter itself, and there's some people that are diluting this idea that we were all tricked into thinking that these were all smooth lines, when in reality, no, that was not the case. Like, literally, the box art for Super Mario Brothers.
That is actually a good point. Also, what he completely forgets we were tricked into thinking they were smooth and stuff. When I was playing these games, never played Super Mario RPG back in the day because it wasn't released in Germany, but Super Mario World and stuff like that, I have not seen pixels. I have not seen smooth lines. I was a child. I have seen Mario go jump. I have fun. I did not care about it in any way, shape, or form because I wanted to play a video game, not think about pixels. I didn't even know what a pixel was. That concept, like, that wasn't. I knew 2D and 3D at the most. The concept of it's made out of pixels or polygons in 3D, I did not know about that. And that goes for most players from that age of gaming. So, yeah. My main question is about the thinking that we were tricked is like, who cares?
Shows you each individual pixel. It is not blurred out to have that CRT effect on the box, and many games feature that.
Yeah, true. The NES games, damn, they were kinda lazy with the design. Then again, I'm not sure. Okay, wait. We have. I happen to, don't ask why, to have this here. This is cool box art. I do not like this game. Absolutely, I never finished it because I just couldn't stand it anymore. But this is good, a good box art. What we also have is this. Okay. However, what you gotta keep in mind, especially with like PS2 games, of course, nowadays that might be different. These do not depict the games. Yeah, you see the characters and stuff, and on the back you have screenshots. Okay, fair. But while these artworks on these games are nice, and I appreciate them, these artworks, while seeming lazy and yeah, uninspired, even just taking the graphics from the games and slapping it on, they do show you what you can expect from a game. Sure, Mario can't jump like that. He's not that big in the game. But you see a turtle, a jumping thing, you're probably gonna jump there. Balloon fight, you control a dude with the balloons on the top. And Clu Clu Land, you... Okay, maybe my point isn't as valid, but I think you get what I'm talking about, right? But then the NES also, maybe you will mention that as well, has Zelda, which has actual artwork. Even though that artwork isn't like crazy, it's just the logo with like a sword in the back and a shield. But yeah, so I think you can do either actually. And some games, are there even games that still use in-game stuff on the cover? Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom seem like they do, but not really. It's still an artwork. Though it's a scene you could technically recreate, at least.
Here's my greatest counter argument to this. Go back to 90s media where anybody did a parody of video games, and you will always see that the artists draw all the animations to look like pixelated characters. Pixel art. So we weren't like fooled into thinking that these were
True. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that is right.
were somehow smoothed out characters, and not every single artist.
Sorry, I forgot to change the scene. Damn it. But yeah,
Draw
this.
all the animations to look like pixelated characters. Pixel art. So we weren't like fooled into thinking that these were somehow smoothed out characters. And not every single artist ever decided like, oh, I'm a genius and I'm going to utilize the CRT to smooth out all of my pixel sprites. That's a fabrication. Again, the examples that he used are some of the greatest examples of artists, yes, using pixels to blend with the CRT. And that is really cool, but that's more of a cool exception, a cool piece of trivia that you can share around and show people like, look at these artists that managed to utilize the CRT to their advantage. This was not the norm though. Many games get details blurred out because of a CRT and end up benefiting more because it's on an LCD screen. It just is what it is. And the fact that people are weaponizing this little nice little fact against pixel artists in modern day games, it's such a bad faith argument. Of course pixel art looks great, and of course it was widely known that video games used pixels even back on.
Yeah, the thing about pixel art is also that it's kind of timeless. I mean, look at the PS1, and I know there are a lot of fans of those graphics, but just objectively, PS1 games look not good anymore. They have aged so badly. N64 as well. I love Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, but the looks, yeah, not the best. But then look at Super Mario World or Secret of Mana. They still look stunningly great. Simply because pixels are easy on the eye, and I need to think about, like, I could make a whole video on why this is, probably. Maybe I will. Don't note that down. I will do that right away after this video. But that means like you can still play them and they look great. And thus, if you nowadays create a pixel art game, you also create something timeless. Of course, there's also bad pixel art. Sure. Of course there's. But everything has good and bad things, right?
On CRTs. I'm going to finish the video here. Let's see what else he has to say.
However, in modern day, when we replayed these games on computers with emulators, this turned into this. And we created a false nostalgia for ourselves. We became nostalgic for this when this was never what it looked like.
No.
And because of that false nostalgia, modern day sprite art tends to emphasize pixels instead of de-emphasize them. Here you can see Shovel Knight. You have big black outlines, big blocky frame. Plague Knight is the same deal. Big black outlines, big blocky frame.
Your point being, these sprites look great.
Very high contrast colors that would not blend together. River City Girls did the same thing. No big outlines, but very high contrast colors that would not blend together on an old CRT. Azure Striker Gunvolt, big outline around the model, big outline around the hair. Entire appearance is very polygonal with the spiky hair and the way that his limbs are drawn. It emphasizes the blockiness of pixels. So modern day pixel art...
But, yeah, you could tell it was pixel art, but it looks smooth. What are you talking about? Gunvolt specifically looks really smooth.
Is emulating a style that never existed in the first place. It's mimicking a mistake, basically.
No, it's not even that I disagree. I think that's just factually incorrect. This guy probably owns a CRT. Because first of all, Shovel Knight does have coloring here that's supposed to blend if it were through a CRT filter. You could see the shading on certain colors and stuff like that. That's what he's trying to illustrate here. And on top of that, Shovel Knight is supposed to be like a pseudo 8-bit game. So the color palette was a lot more limited and you saw a lot less shading on the NES. Then you have River City Girls, which he cites as a good example of how there isn't a lot of color blending. It all just sort of is like one flat color for each part of the sprites and stuff. And that's an art style. Like, that is clearly not meant to adhere to this rhetoric.
Yeah. Oh, that's basically the whole debate about art styles and art itself. It's like... It's also kind of analogic to... There are some people that say that turn-based RPGs are outdated and everything should be an action RPG, which is... No, action RPGs are a different genre. Same with art style like this. This is not NES art. It is pixel art, but it's not the NES art style. It's a pixel art style that's different, but still using pixels mainly. Like, okay, everything uses pixels anyway. Even if you play a 3D game, yeah, it was made out of polygons and models and stuff, but the way every monitor works is using pixels. That's just how these screens work. And yeah, yeah, you should not stick your dick in a wasp's nest.
That they all have to have blending in some way, so that way it looks smoothed out in a CRT filter. It's just the style that they're choosing here, which is okay. It's okay to do that. For example, a game that is, in my opinion, somewhat similar with its flat coloring to achieve a similar effect is Congo Bongo on the arcade, a game that ran on a CRT arcade filter. It can just be at the discretion of the artist. So, like, this bad faith argument that these modern pixel artists are not doing it correctly in some way, it's absolutely just false. Again, I have a lot of respect for different opinions. You can say that you like how pixel art was done back in the day versus how some modern takes are doing it, like with Shovel Knight. Though, again, I argue that Shovel Knight is a very...
Shovel Knight is a good example of what I was talking about earlier. I'm not sure if the developers depict it as that, but a lot of people say, yeah, it's an 8-bit game. No. The NES, an 8-bit console, could not depict this many colors. These details wouldn't have been possible. It is inspired by that, but it's not an 8-bit game. And I think that's what Yacht Club is doing. They say they were inspired by it, but not mimicking it. While other people say, it's like an NES game, which, no, definitely not. Gameplay-wise, no, Shovel Knight, even gameplay-wise, isn't... Is it? It's been a while since I played it. But I think you have too many actions available. The thing is, if you really want your game to feel like an NES game, use 8-bit only, which I think is 126 colors or something like that. And remember that I don't have an NES controller here, but remember that this is the controller we have today. See all these buttons? We have these sticks and stuff. So with an NES controller, you have this, and an A and a B button. These are A and B. That's it. If you use any button outside of these, start and select, of course, you have as well, but they aren't used for gameplay usually. Maybe weapon switching. If it uses any more buttons than these, you are not creating an NES game. You are creating a game inspired by NES. Some people say it's an NES style game. I would interpret that as it plays like on an NES, but I could also see the point that NES style means just that it gives you the feeling. And okay, with that wording, it's a bit more complicated, but yeah.
Very based off of DuckTales. I'm going to look this up really fast. DuckTales. All the characters sort of go off of this model where it's, you know, big bright colors and big black lines to outline the character. And again, not every game's going to do this, but there was many games that did, and that is where Shovel Knight kind of drew its inspiration from. I don't know if they specifically drew inspiration from DuckTales, but, you know, it stands to reason that there are many games that do have that sort of art style. So, again, I found that to be a bad faith argument. He's sort of stating things as fact when it's really kind of like, I don't know, it's just a poor theory. I mean, again, the one thing he got right was that Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG, these are two games that heavily utilized the feature of CRT to smooth out their pixels and make what is otherwise a game that could, you know, be pixel for pixel, instead utilize those pixels to sort of do like a blend that looks really good on a CRT. So yes, I mean, there are instances where they do that. There are many instances where they did not do that, especially in the NES era. there's a lot of details that kind of get blurred out due to CRT. Do not take that video as gospel. If you were to kind of look to me and say, like, what is your...
I mean, basically he is cherry picking there. And yeah, if I do that, I could say that Chrono Trigger is a bad game, which I'm not saying it is, but I could, just by saying, well, look at this specific point in the game which is not fun. Yeah, but the rest is great, so of course, if I only take the bad things and show them, a game will look bad. If I only show the good things, a game will look good, even though there might still be bad things that kinda are not good. Yeah.
Take on all this? I think that pixel art has always been recognized as a thing. We are nostalgic for it because we know that it existed. We were not fooled by our CRTs. CRTs can sometimes blend pixels in ways that are beneficial to the game, and that the art director does something to specifically utilize the CRT, but that is not always the case. And if I was to ask my just like off the cuff speculation or opinion here, I'd say that most don't. I think that there's many games that kind of go for the pixel look, and then the CRT is an afterthought. So don't look at that as like this is the barometer of what modern pixel artists should be doing. I think that many pixel artists do offer CRT filters for their games, and that's really, really cool. But I think that the fact that many people buy into pixel art games is because people enjoy pixel art. There's many, many people now that are nowhere close to my age, much, much younger, and they like pixel art. They like the aesthetic of pixel art. They have no nostalgia for it. They literally are growing up in a world where pixel art games are just existing in high...
Okay, one argument that I just came to. Pong. Does Pong look round to you on a CRT? No, you can still tell the pixels. I know it's more like a funny argument now, but you know, they didn't try to trick you into thinking things were round there.
High definition, and they like that aesthetic. They're playing those games, they're enjoying those games. I don't have a false nostalgia for pixel per pixel art. I just know what pixel art is. I've always known what pixel art was. And so when people started making pixel art video games in the modern age on high definition consoles, I had a nostalgia for pixel art. I don't need to be told that I was tricked into thinking that I'm nostalgia for pixel art when I really wasn't. What I really think is underneath the crust of this whole discourse is that there is really cool artists out there that are doing really cool things with pixel art to the point where they were master classes of their craft and that they were utilizing the CRT. This is a fact. This is a real thing, and he utilized two great examples for it. But as far as that being the norm, no, I don't think so. I think that a lot of games actually benefit from pixel per pixel emulation or just being redisplayed on an HD TV. So yeah, anyways, that's what I think I want to add to this conversation is that I think it's okay to like the CRT look. I don't think that we need to be criticizing modern day pixel artists. I don't think that that criticism is even remotely valid. Again, you can like CRT, you can request a CRT filter for your game because you like that aesthetic, but to try to state it as a fact, as if like factually people are getting this wrong, no. I will actually go be as bold to say that whoever's making that claim is the one who is in fact wrong, and that you're kind of disguising an opinion as this this fact when it's in actuality a factoid. It's not a real fact. All right, sorry. That's all, with all due respect to this gentleman, because again, he clearly has a passion for this aesthetic choice. I think he just may have taken it a little too far, and I think we're seeing a good amount of people actually subscribing to this rhetoric, and I just kind of wanted to reset, what's going on here, put my hat into the ring and say, like, look, I think that you guys are being a little bit misguided as far as what the narrative is here. All right, well, anyways, thanks for watching, appreciate it, and take care.
Okay, wait. That was a very good video, yeah. It basically pointed out what I was thinking as well, mostly. And the stuff I added, of course. Yeah, pixel art is great. What can I say? So, yeah. leave a like and a subscribe on his channel. I will link the original video down in the description. Give that a view as well. Like and subscribe on this side, of course. Comment everything, and then we see each other next time. Until then, bye!